Here we go. Beautiful. Ah, all right. All right. I think we're here. We're live.
We made it.
So, yeah, we made it. This is awesome. So today on Evolve Your Brand, I'm joined by a man who's rewriting what it means to lead with integrity, resilience, and purpose. From being diagnosed with Asperger's and ADHD to owning three gyms by the age of 22, Lewis Huckstep has transformed personal struggle into global impact. And he's now a sought after performance coach, podcast host, and he's the creator of the Inspired Life Method. So Lewis not only empowers thousands to break free from limitation, he also helps them to design a life that actually feels good to live. So this conversation is going to be for anyone who wants to master their inner game, build a meaningful brand, and lead with truth in an age of noise. Lewis, welcome to the show.
Man, what an intro. I've got that you made me sound better better than I am, man. That was thank you. Thank you for that. That was beautiful and thank you for having me and I'm excited to see where this conversation goes having such a conscious host. So I'm excited to see where this goes, man.
Yeah, I don't know if I made you sound better than you are. I think the world has taken note and you have grown quite a huge following on Instagram, YouTube, different platforms. So I just want to understand first, like, what belief system did you have to instill in yourself to evolve into the man and into the brand that you are today?
Man, beautiful question to kick it off. There's not like one single one. It's like that constant shedding of the layers that aren't you to allow you to become the greater version of who you are. It's statue of David always comes up with that. It's for people that don't know, Michelangelo sculpted the statue of David and got asked how did he make such a beautiful statue? And he said along the lines of, it was easy. David was always in the statue. I just removed everything that wasn't him. So for me, that's the constant layer of healing or growth or removing limitations that are stopping you from being the greatest expression of who you are. Well, one of my favorite quotes is, "When what you do is the fullest expression of who you are, you will do your life's best work." So for me, that's knowing what your purpose is, which is something that I teach, and it's knowing how do you want to give your gift back, and your purpose is your gift. And then how do you build a life where you're able to actually live that and delegate the rest, systemize the rest, and have a life that you truly love? And then it's just, yeah, constantly having those beliefs that I've worked through of like, I'm not enough, I'm a failure, I'm not good with money, no one wants to listen to me, I'm not worthy of this. And like this, just always new level, new devil. So it's whatever beliefs, conditioning, programming that you've got inside of your subconscious and conscious mind has created the life you have right now. And what's got you to where you are won't get you to where you want to go. So it's then constantly asking yourself, what is it that's stopping me from evolving right now? Is it skills? It's success is 80% psychology, 20% skills. So is it a skill set? I don't know how to market. I don't know how to communicate. I don't know how to run ads. I don't know how to whatever the thing is. Or is it something mentally, emotionally, energetically within you that's stopping you from actually taking action or learning the skills? Like I said, most 80% of the time it's the mental emotional side. And then it's identifying that, which is the hardest part. Once you identify the constraint or the belief or the wound or the trigger, you then do a process on it to dissolve it or heal it or integrate it, and then you'll rise to the next one. It's actually the theory of constraints with humans. Humans will rise to their lowest constraint. You find the constraint, address the constraint, then you grow to the next one. And that's been me for the last, consciously, anyways, for the last 10 years.
Well, you talk about consciously, what was life like before you became this coach and public figure? Because you do throw out a lot of amazing quotes in your book and in your podcast and on your channels. And you talk about how your identity isn't who you are, it's who you had to become to survive.
Yep.
And a lot of the people that I'm sure you work with, a lot of the guys that I work with as well, are still living in that survival or scarcity paradigm. So how do you coach someone out of an identity that's been built around trauma or survival?
Yeah, beautiful, man. So I like the quote, you're born limitless, but you're programmed out of it. So when a baby comes into this world, as long as they come into a relatively safe environment when they're born, it's I'm not a parent yet, but and I get the ages like so kind of muddle up, but the ages of kids when they can start to talk and articulate and talk about what they want to do and become, for children that haven't had like hardcore trauma, hardcore quote bad conditioning, you'll hear that they want to be an astronaut, an athlete, a superstar, a celebrity, an influencer. Like they can say all these limitless things because we're born limitless, but we're programmed out of it. So again, it's kind of that statue of David again. So your conditioning, I call it your ego, which is your human identity, is all of your beliefs, your perceptions, your traumas, everything that's coded or conditioned into your mind and your nervous system. So it's just identifying what are the things that again aren't serving you, and that could be an array of different things. Like for me, a lot of people, from my experience with my clients, anyways, I'm too much. I'm not enough. I'm not loved. I can't be successful. Money is evil. No one loves me. There's no good ones left. Like there's some of the more common ones. I'm too old. I'm too young. I'm ugly. I'm stupid. Like there's a list of things that it could be. So it's just for me. Your question was, what was I like? I was the burnt out overachiever. So I had the belief that I have to achieve to be enough. That was one of my core beliefs. And it came from, if you've watched Tony Robbins' documentary, I'm Not Your Guru, he says this question right at the end of the movie, of the documentary. And he says, which parent did you crave love from the most? For me, it was dad. And he said, who did you have to be for that parent? For me, it was an achiever. And that for me was I got validation and love from my dad by achieving. It was through sports when I was younger, and then evolved into business. And that's where I was the 22-year-old with three gyms. I became a six-figure earner in network marketing when I was 19. I was the youngest in Australia at a certain level before Herbalife, if I didn't share that part of my story. So that was prior to the gyms. I
Herbalife. Oh, you left that one
Herbalife, yeah,
out.
yeah.
Wow.
So that I don't talk too much about that was the first business venture. So yeah, I
At
hit
least it
Benny
wasn't a
for
Kangen business.
oh mate, I've got one of those downstairs. I got sold out a while ago. So anyways, we won't talk about that. And yeah, but that's where I started, and I was just everything I did was I must achieve to prove that I'm enough, and that was like the big kind of driving force for me. And don't get me wrong, like Alex Mosey says it really well. First rule of entrepreneurship: use what you've got. So if you've got the fuel of I'm a piece of shit, I'm not enough, and that's going to drive you to get started, perfect. But that fuel's very toxic. It's very draining. It's very burning out. It becomes the mirage of I'll be happy when. And the ego always wants more. The ego is never satisfied. It's a thirst you cannot quench. So that's where it's like I had one gym and then I need two, I need three. I had this vision of having 50. Thank God I had a breaking point before that point. Hit a breaking point, gave them away, and yeah, I've got that story. We can go there if you want to, but I hit a breaking point where it's like it forced me to look in the mirror, metaphorically, energetically speaking, where it's like, okay, uh, my mentor when I did NLP years and years ago, he said, life will give you a pebble. If you don't listen, it will give you a boulder. If you don't listen, it will give you a brick wall. If you don't listen, it gives you a bus. So I had to wait for the bus to wake the fuck up to myself and recognize that no level of external achievement will ever fulfill the internal void that I had. And that all stemmed from me believing that I had to achieve to get love. So that was
What
me.
what
So I
did
was
that show up as in your life, when you talk about the brick wall?
For me, the most obvious one that comes to mind is the I share this in my book. So it's I think it's the opening chapter I share. So I'm 22, no, 23, I think, 22, 22, 23, 24 maybe, and I've had three gyms, and I was the businesses were not stable. Like I was the business. I was literally waking up at
Mm.
3:30, 4 a.m. in the morning, running classes at one gym, doing like admin and sales and marketing and leadership during the day, and then taking classes at another gym in the afternoon. And I had one business partner at one of them, and she was kind of a stable at one of them. So I was kind of like spinning two businesses by myself with some team that went whatever. It was just super unstable and stressful, and that resulted in challenges in my relationship, a lot of triggers, a lot of disconnects, a lot of fighting, a lot of anxiety, a lot of fear, a lot of insecurities. And we hit a breaking point where me and my business partner decided to sell one of the gyms. So I had a business partner at one of them. I had one business partner at one business partner at another, and I had one to myself. And one of my business partners, me and him decided we're not aligned. Let's sell this business. We're not seeing eye to eye. We see things differently. Let's move on. We find a buyer. We go through the buying process for anyone that sold a business. That takes fucking ages. You got to do due diligence, your contracts, there's cooling off periods, there's all this stuff that goes into it. Anyways, 12 months later, the deal is signed, and I think there's like a 14-day cooling off period. The second last day of the cooling off period, I get a phone call from the buyer, and he says, "Mate, this business is fucked. We're pulling out." And I'm like, it was like my lifeline to help me get out of this like hamster wheel and like pressure cooker I've made for myself. And I just remember like literally hearing the words through the phone, and I dropped down to the ground and just started crying because I didn't see a way out. I'm like, this was my only way out of here. My relationship was on the rocks. My health was fucked, which is ironic because I was in the fitness industry. I wasn't sleeping well. I was super stressed. I was super unhappy, anxious, depressed. I had like all this like I built this facade of like I'm successful externally, but internally I'm not happy. And that was
Mm,
one of the bigger ones where it's like that was like kind of the breaking point, like literally on that phone call. So I called after I kind of got the tears wiped away, called my business partner at
yeah.
that business, said, "Hey man, like the guy just called me, he's just pulled out." And my business partner
Mm,
says, "What do you want to do?" I said, "I can't handle this. You can have the business." And the business, my half of the business was probably worth about 200 grand at that point. I just gave it away. I said, "I can't do this. Take it, go." And then I still had two ones that I had to deal with. Then we went through COVID with two gyms. That was fun. Had to fire 90% of my team in a day. It's like I just had this like apprenticeship and like training ground of like growth and business in a very short period. And it was challenging. So that was one of the memories that popped up, that how my shit manifested in my life.
And something that really stands out to me is how many of the greats in the world in personal development have gone through something very challenging to get to where they are today. And talked about Tony Robbins' quote, he realized like his hunger for connection and contribution came from scarcity and trauma. And then he built a whole global empire by giving.
Yeah.
And whatever you think the world is withholding from you, oftentimes you are withholding from the world. And I really resonated with your story about needing to prove something to, especially your father. I mean, I was kind of the same way growing up, playing soccer and playing tennis to try to prove to him that I was enough. And now I'm on this journey in entrepreneurship, and I really resonate with what you're talking about, how these mirrors will come back and they will appear, and there will be brutal truths, and many people just don't want to confront them. And I have conversations with male entrepreneurs. Some of them are more successful than others. Sometimes I'm speaking with women as well. But one thing is for certain is that to really face yourself and take full ownership is one of the most difficult things to do in life. So, what is a brutal truth about healing that no one wants to admit?
Beautiful question, man. And I was excited for this conversation because I knew your level of awareness and consciousness can go deep. So I love it. Well said. One of the facts is the ego, the human identity. Two main traits. There's three, but two main ones is it avoids pain. So that's kind of what we're talking about now. It doesn't want to accept that it's wrong or face the shameful emotions and things that we don't want to face. We want to avoid pain, etc. Second is it proves itself right. So that's where it reaffirms its own identity of I'm not enough, I'm too much, I'm not lovable, I need money to be successful. So those two put together create a challenging reality for a lot of people. They reaffirm their beliefs even if they're limiting, and they avoid pain so they don't want to be challenged. So it's kind of like I'm going to prove to myself I'm a piece of shit. That's essentially what your ego does. Whatever beliefs you have, you make them true. So the reason it's so challenging is a couple of things. Number one, those two things I just said. It's going to reaffirm its own narrative that whatever the beliefs are. And second, it's going to get very defensive and triggered when someone tries to challenge you on it. So that's why people, if you ask most people who haven't done any
I'm
like work or
going through
self-work,
that today, brother. I'm going through that
perfect,
today. Okay.
perfect.
On LinkedIn, I've got a guy liking my posts, and he's a big LinkedIn whatever. And I
Yep.
said to him, "You want to have a conversation? You want to collab?" Oh, no, no, no. Complete defensiveness.
Yep.
So I'm sure maybe you've ever seen that before. Same thing
Yep.
on Instagram. I made a post about one of my upcoming workshops. A guy liked it. I reached out to him. I said, "Hey, you liked my post? You want to attend?" He goes, "I don't know what you're talking about." I sent him a screenshot of him liking the post of the story, and he goes, "No, I don't want to attend." I said, "Well,
Yep.
Bro, I'm just reaching out to you because I
Just
thought you were interested,
yeah.
right? And every time you've reached out to me, you've wanted to take something from me. And here I am to give something to you. And I notice this so often in our age, it's so difficult for most people to step into the arena and want to embrace the uncomfortable conversation. And yet it's those type of people that want to have the challenging conversation, which are the ones that I want to be in a relationship with. I want to be in a partnership with. I want to coach those guys. I want to help them to grow.
Man, I love your mission. I love your head, your heart, and it's like the people that need it in quotations the most are the ones that are so resistive to it. And that's again, the ego is trying to reaffirm its own beliefs and identity and make itself right and avoid any challenge or pain that people, I guess, put the mirror up to. So I guess the best way to start to for me to start to do that is to learn about it. And this is where depending on the client I'm working with, 99% of the time, if it's a new client, I'd say 100%, 99% of the time, if it's someone that I've never met before, it's generally very loving, empathetic energy because a fish doesn't know that it's in water. Like they don't know this shit. I generally, in my heart, believe every human being is doing the best of what they have. Their conditioning, their resources, their skill sets, their awareness, everything. So if I'm assuming most of your audience has done some work before, and they wouldn't, unless this is their first exposure to self development, it's like they're probably hearing things like, "Holy shit!" If this was their first time, like, "Oh my god, I've never heard that before." "Oh my god, when I'm triggered, it's revealing something that I haven't addressed yet." Holy shit! When you get triggered, start to introspect and find the wound underneath the surface. It's like, wow, that's amazing. Now I have, with great power comes great responsibility. Now that you become aware of it, now you can actually start to be conscious of the mirror of life. Your perception's a projection. You are you, the human, the ego, is is the projector. Your entire life experience is a projection of you. That's where the things that you judge in others is a part of you. The things you get triggered by is something within you, and that's where you can start to turn the lights on and actually take the gift of triggers because triggers reveal the parts of you that you haven't healed. And but again, for most, if you've never heard this before and you've just heard this for the first time, you're like, what the fuck? I never heard this before. This is interesting. Let me be practical. And I can give you heaps of questions people can ask themselves to start to find what are my wounds? What are my triggers? What are my limitations? Because those are the things that are creating the patterns in your life. People's patterns, behaviors are stemming from the conditioning. I use like a computer or a phone. I've got an iPhone in my hand right now. It's like you need programming on the phone for the phone to function. Without programming, it's just a piece of fucking metal. It doesn't do anything. What if I download a virus on this? It's going to shut down. It's going to malfunction. It's going to quote sabotage. That's what our limiting beliefs and trauma does to us. So when you can then again become aware of your triggers, your resistance, your limitations, be curious, not furious, and actually find, okay, what's the root cause underneath the surface of this pattern that I don't like or this trigger, then address it with the tool, it goes away. And then you'll rise to the next one. The next one pops up. And that's the evolution of growth over and over again.
Wow. So, guys, if you're
Whoa.
watching this live on YouTube, I just encourage you to answer some of the questions that Lewis is asking. Drop a comment where you're from. And if you haven't already, go and follow Lewis. What's your Instagram?
Lewis Huckstep across any platform or Instagram's where I'm at most of the time.
Go and follow Lewis right now and just start to understand a little bit deeper about yourself because until you really value yourself, you won't value your time. And until you value your time, you won't do anything with it. And,
Yep.
Ed Milet talks openly about overcoming the lack of self-worth and structuring his life for impact. And now, he's led millions of people, and yet so many people out there are not actually valuing themselves and their time. So, what do you think it takes in order to step into true self belief and self worth in 2025?
For me, there's a couple of pieces to it. So it's my inspired life method in a nutshell. So for me, low self-worth, there's a couple of pieces to it. Number one is you're not being yourself. Now that bit cliche, the authentic word gets thrown around a lot. So my I've got two definitions of authentic. Your authentic self is knowing your values and your purpose and vision and living in alignment with them. It's not trying to be number two of someone else. Now, values I define as areas of life that fulfill you. From Dr. John Demartini, there's a book called The Values Factor behind me. Go read that. I also have it in my book as well.
Mm.
So it's areas of life that fulfill you. A lot of people think values are things like honesty, loyalty, integrity, control, and freedom. For me, those are not values. Values are areas of life that you live out. I always say, if I said go fill your calendar with freedom, what would that look like? Like it sounds a bit weird to say that question. But whatever their answers would be their values. If it's health, they'll go to the gym, do some health stuff, sauna, ice bath, yoga, whatever. If it's business, probably you like business, you'd probably spend time doing business. If it's relationships, it'd be relationships. If it's travel, it's travel. Like it's things you do. So low self-worth is feedback you're not living to your values. So I would say, let's use you as an example, Dave. I don't know your values obviously intimately, but I would assume knowing you, I'd say learning or growth
Let's
would
get
certainly
to
be in
know
there.
each other, Lewis. Come on.
Yeah. Yeah, well, here we are. So, well, let me ask you, just based on what I've seen, do you love growth and learning and evolving?
I do.
Beautiful. Do you love business?
Do I love business? I do. I love
Beautiful.
business.
I don't, and I'd say relationships. You seem to love connecting with people and connecting friendships, relationships.
I love building deep relationships with people,
Perfect.
especially when there is a desire to want to work through the challenges and the triggers that are coming up. And you talked about on one of your podcasts, you were playing a game with your wife and a couple, and you all were getting triggered, but yet you all wanted to work through the trigger. And that was
Yeah,
so
it's funny.
inspiring. I
It's
loved
funny.
it.
I was with them this morning at the gym. We have funny conversations. Um, to circle back to value or self worth. So for you, as an example, say, for example, pretend this. Say you weren't doing any self growth, you weren't growing at all. In fact, you're going backwards. Say your business was failing horribly and you weren't able to work on it. And say you weren't able to prioritize any meaningful relationships and friendships. How would you feel?
Lewis, I felt it. I felt it this year. I
Yeah.
felt it last year. I think that many people, if you don't feel that at all in the matter of 12 months, you might not be living
Yep.
because life is a roller coaster. And in certain moments, in certain communities, because some might consider myself a digital nomad, I like to travel a lot. I find myself a little bit more complacent and a little bit more disconnected from myself, especially when living in super conscious communities, spiritual communities like Kopangan, Thailand, or Tulum, Mexico. And I love to connect with so many alive and awakened and conscious souls. But at the same time, as a former introvert who's secretly pretending to be an extrovert, I start to lose myself a little bit.
Yep.
And so when that happens, what also happens is maybe I start to not protect my energy, or maybe I start to go on too many dates or forget to love myself. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%, man. And what you're saying is another angle on know your values and prioritize them. So it's know how much, because a picture values is like a an ascending ladder of cups, and the higher the value, the more the cup needs to be filled until it's satisfied, and then it moves on to the next one. And you obviously do this simultaneously. So coaching's my highest value. I could coach for hours and hours. I am doing that today.
I've seen
Then it
that.
goes learning.
I've seen that. You get on a webinar and
Yeah.
you could just, 5 hours could pass if you
Yeah.
wanted to.
Yeah. So coaching for me is the biggest cup or value for me to prioritize. Then for me, learning, then relationships, health, then wealth, and business falls into that as well. So the
Mm,
point of the question is whatever your values are, if you want high levels of self-worth, know your values, purpose and vision, live authentically in alignment with it. Stop trying to be number two of someone else. Low self-worth is feedback you're not living to your values. So that's the first layer of self-worth. The second layer is inner work. That's where your beliefs, your trauma, your coping patterns can lead to low self worth.
mm,
If you believe you're not enough, then that's obviously quite an obvious one. If you believe that you need to achieve to be successful, to be enough, if you're not achieving, you'll feel shit. So again, those beliefs, you're making them true, and also coping, overcompensation from trauma comes into this as well. The third piece for me, self-worth, is the more practical skills. It's like confidence comes from competence. It's practicing the thing. Like I hit 6,000 posts on Instagram the other day. I've done a lot. Like people say, how do you get good on camera? Like film a lot of fucking pieces of content on camera. Like practice, like do the thing. So that's where I like to
Mm.
be. Yes, let's be authentic. Let's be a bit more spiritual, energetic, and work on yourself. But I'm also very practical, similar to yourself. I'm into the spiritual circles. I got crystals on my arm right now. But I'm also quite a practical human too, where it's like you can't pay your landlord with gratitude, unfortunately, not yet. So it's like you need to figure out what are the skills and strategies to actually have the thing you want to achieve, which for me creates self-worth or confidence by actually doing the thing more. You want to get better at the gym, go to the gym more, get a trainer. If you want to get better on camera, film more content. You want to get better at communicating or talking to women, talking to men, go talk to more women and men. So for me, those three pieces create high levels of self-worth. So you just got to figure out, like I said, what's the root cause underneath the resistance? Find that root cause. If it's values, if it's a trigger, if it's limiting beliefs, maybe you're lacking some skills, find what it is, address it, and then that will go away.
One of your favorite mentors, Joe Dispenza, says your personality creates your personal reality.
Yes, yes.
And um, when people start to change their thoughts, feelings, and behaviors, their external life transforms.
Really.
So if you want a new outcome, you've got to break the habit of being yourself, right? This is the whole concept of Joe Dispenza's work. And another mentor who is very controversial, who I definitely think he changed my life by listening to some of his audiobooks, talks about the four stages of learning: unconscious incompetence, conscious incompetence, conscious competence, and unconscious competence. And so if you want to get to that place of unconscious competence, you've got to be able to master a skill without thinking about it and
Yes, sir.
know it like the back of your hand. And that's the way that you show up. Like it's second nature. It's like riding a bike, speaking to this level of understanding. Once you learn it, you'll always be able to do it. And I just want to circle back because you've mentioned it a few times, and I'm really fascinated to learn a little bit more about your book. So you've written this book, The Inspired Life Method, and I've got a little summary, and maybe you can correct me if we want a little deeper,
Hey,
in-depth discovery, but
go for it,
I've
man.
I've read that it's a hands-on guide to mastering your mind, regulating your emotions, and building a life rooted in purpose and alignment. And it's apparently based on your own journey around trauma and mental health challenges and entrepreneurship. So, what was the deeper why behind writing this book, and what part of your own healing did you hope to pass on to others?
Thank you, my man. I it was a it was an evolution in my journey. I'll tell you the decision to write the book, and there's some other pieces to it. I've just started running events this year, so that's my next evolution for my business and how I want to help people. And I ran my first 3 day event. So I run 1 day events to add value and to get people to come join me for 3 days. And I ran my first 3 day about 3 or 4 weeks ago, about a month ago now. And I got there, and it's kind of like the pinnacle of my teaching. I was super grateful, very inspired, like in my flow. And it's like, how do I start this event? And I think the answer kind of answers your question. I said, guys, thank you for coming to the event. Thank you for being here. And I just opened and I said, guys, I was reflecting before we kicked off this 3 days. And I was like, why did I make this event? Like, what led me here today? And for me, I'm not sure about you, Dave, but when I came into this world, I didn't get a user's manual to life. I didn't get a here's who you are,
Nope.
here's your gift, here's how you can give your gift
Nope.
to the world, here's how you can address all your mental, emotional constraints that would stop you from fulfilling your gift, and here's the practical skills you need to bring that gift to the world. So essentially, it's like I want to give people a
Mm-hmm.
backpack of all the resources, skills, awareness, and tools for them to go out and create a life that they're inspired by, hence the Inspired Life Method. So that was my intention behind it. The what led to me actually doing it, I actually started to write it about 4 years ago, and I would start it. I literally had like a bit of an outline. I think I wrote a chapter or two, and then I'll just excuses, COVID, business. I just kept making excuses for it. And then I attended an event. It was last January, so it would have been January 2024, and we sit down and the coach, the mentor, he gives you a piece of paper and he goes up the front. Everyone's like anticipating what the fuck are we about to do, and he says simply, "You've got 6 months to live. What do you do?" That was it. That was the whole probe for it. I just start writing. The first sentence I write was, "I finally write the book I've been talking shit about for 5 years." And that was like the opening sentence. And then I also have the other things. I have a family. I speak my truth. I experiences I've been putting off, blah, 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 blah. Write it all out. And then he finishes the exercise and he says, guys, what you've just written down are your legacy values that you're procrastinating. I'm like, you're fucking right. That day, I got home. I cancelled all the big projects I was going to work on. So like I've got a school community that's like kind of my consistent income that I work on. So like I didn't stop it, but I like minimized the effort there and put all of my effort into the book. It was kind of like make enough money to live and write the book. That was like my intention last year. So it took me 9 months of writing. I spent 1,500 hours of my own time writing, editing, refining. So I think I went through the book 6 times. So I did six versions of it. I had an editor and a book coach helping me the entire time. So her and her team went through about 4 or 5 times as well. And yeah, it took us from January is a decision to write it. And I've been thinking about it for 5 years, but whatever, midway through January is when we started. And I think the launch date was October. So whatever, however many months it took us to do that. And that was the journey to the book, man. And it's good. It's so good to have just a resource to get people started because not everyone has the trust and wants to work with me that deeply. Some people don't have the income to do so. So I wanted something where if you never see me again, if you never work with me again, this is going to give you so much value where you can start to create a life that's authentic to you. That's an expression of who you are. The purpose process is in here. The values determinations in here. The trauma and ego process is in here. The planning process is in there. It's like, it's the backpack of resources and tools. That's the book. So that was my intention.
Do you have an audiobook?
Yep, audio version. Yep, it was funny filming that. That was an interesting process because like you listen to yourself over and over again. So that was yeah, film that in this office actually. It's good.
And as an entrepreneur and now an author, what doors has that opened up for you, writing a book and publishing it and having it, in so many places now?
I've had I'm not gonna say it's like completely shifted my reality in terms of like massive
Mhm.
shifts. It's a good door opener. So I've definitely been invited onto some bigger podcasts because of it. I've had
Like this
for
one?
me like
I'm just kidding.
yeah, of course, right here, brother. So um, I've man, the stuff that lights my soul on fire is honestly the testimonials. So I got like this really beautiful one. I put it on my story the other day, and it just touched my heart. So it was like something I might actually get it up quickly. So like for me, I'm a impact over income type of coach. Like yes, I love
Mhm.
making money. You got to make the business, the economics of the business make sense. I'm an entrepreneur at heart. Like I'm a coach at heart. Let me rephrase that. But I'm
We're
very
gonna
much
get into
impact.
that in a second.
Yeah. And I got this testimonial literally, what's the date? 4 days ago, I got this review on Amazon. It says, what a gem of a resource. This book opened my eyes to so many truths and a truly profound way to look at things. Healing is so much
Mm,
more than a singular method. The level of depth
mm.
that the author brings to this subject is a masterpiece. He is doing the work for sure, and his dedication to the art of healing and getting in there inside of our patterns, which hold us back, is almost effortless. Clearly, this man was born to do this work, and this book was supposed to be written for the better of the human race. I do believe certain souls came here with the intent to heal, and I must believe that this path is the path of the authors. Thank you. I read that. I'm like, that's it. That's why I wrote it. So yes, it's led to some more sales. I've had definitely like we sell about 15 copies a day at the moment, and like people are getting it, people are reading it, people are getting reviews, people then come work with me. So there's definitely like the monetary return on it. So it's definitely kind of write once, copy and paste a million times. So it's definitely helping people. Definitely some monetary returns, some doors are opening, but that's the reason I wrote it. Like to read that, like just puts a tear in my eye. I got teary when I read that, and I was like, "Fuck, that's so cool." So that's been it, man.
I love it. And, something came up for me as well when you shared that story about the 6 months left to live. And I went through 10 jobs in 1 year, a few years ago, and it led me to go to a coding boot camp. I thought maybe that would be my breakthrough in life. I would just learn coding and I'd become a developer. And I'm not really good at like math and techie stuff. So I kind of struggled in the boot camp. And the professors, they gave us an assignment and they came over to me at one point and they said, if you could do anything and money wasn't a factor, what would you do? And I said, I would have like a Lewis Hose, Tom Billio, like interview style podcast. And sure enough, like here we are today. This is the online version. I've now filmed like five live interviews so far with some of the most inspiring guys that I've met. And I've gone from having a lot of imposter syndrome, from being a shy introvert to approaching lots of women and reading all the books and watching all the podcasts and YouTube videos and learning social dynamics to um, starting to monetize my purpose. And for someone that felt like they didn't have any purpose growing up because my parents were fighting a lot and my mom was sick from an early age, to now be able to do something that even my family and certain friends and whatnot, they don't necessarily get it. They don't necessarily believe it, that this is my it, is just so fulfilling. And anytime I do end up supporting others and helping others fill up their cup, my cup always continues to overflow. But something that I remember you said was that purpose isn't found, it's chosen again and again. And you don't need more strategy, you need more self-trust. So I'm wondering if you want to dive into it for a second. Like, what's your framework for helping someone to clarify and really monetize their purpose?
Love it, brother. And very inspired from what you just said, by the way. Fucking love it. So, your purpose is an expression of your core wound. So, whatever was most painful for you becomes most important and fulfilling to you. Most people have heard a version of greater the pain, greater the purpose, greater the wounds, greater the wisdom. So most people have heard some version of that. So it's very true. So you find your core wound. There's a list of questions that you go through. It's four questions about mum and dad, and then you find the core theme, which is the core wound. You find the earliest memory of your core wound. You find what you needed back then. Then you articulate how you can give that back to others. And the whole process takes about 30 minutes. The process is in the book and in my other services. So that's the process of how to do it. And then I teach the four pathways. Again, it's in the book, it's in my teachings. So there's four pathways from my view of how you can make money in this world reality that we live in. Number one, work a job you hate, never change. Don't do that one. That's the shit one. Don't do that one. Second is build a career get a career or build a career that's aligned with your purpose and values. Because do I believe
Mm,
anyone could build a business? Yes. Is everyone willing to? No. So it's the sacrifice, the effort, the get uncomfortable, the healing. So it's cool. And it's like, that's fine. So go, if you don't want to, you can't be fucked. You don't want to put the effort in, you prefer to work for someone else. There's no dramas with that. So just go get, if you want to have a fulfilling purpose or fulfilling mission within your career, go do something that's aligned with it. Like for me, if I wasn't running my own business, I'd probably be a coach for like Tony Robbins or something. I'd probably work for like another big name person and just be a coach underneath them. That would, because I would find that meaningful. Third, build a business that gives you time and financial freedom to do whatever you want. And that was me for the gyms. So after the whole shit show about the gyms, I eventually got to a point where I hired myself out of the gym. So I gave away one, sold the second, and then the third gym, which was the one I owned solely, I hired myself out of it. I had a great team there, and I earned 2 to 3 grand a week for 1 hour of work. So I had a bit of freedom. Wasn't financially free by any means, but I had freedom to do what I wanted without having to worry about the money at that point. So that's an example of that. So that might be ecom, it might be something online, it might be just something where you're not like purposely driven. It doesn't like put a tear in your eye and you're not like so fucking passionate and all in about it, but you do it because you add value to the world and you get paid for it. Perfect. And the fourth option is the one that you're referring to, is to build a purpose-led business where your purpose is expressed as a business. That could be coaching, it could be fashion, it could be any business out there where the quote I shared towards the start of this podcast, when what you do is the fullest expression of who you are, you will do your life's best work. And that's where, when you know your purpose, mine is to heal and raise consciousness. You can see everything that I do in my business aligns to that. My book, my content, this conversation, my clients, that's what I'm doing. And that's why I'm so inspired by the work that I do. Like I mentioned, I'm running in-person events. I got one coming up in about 3 weeks. We have tickets selling right now for, which is great. And the last one that we did, when people have the transformation moment, the healing moment, the breakthrough moment, I have tears coming down my face whilst I'm at the event. I'm like, And I said this at the event we did last time. We did the purpose process. We find the core wound. We sit with it. We feel it, and we articulate it. And the whole room, not the whole room, 80% of the room has tears coming down their face. It's really beautiful. And then I've got tears coming down my face because I feel amazing as well. And I told everyone, I said, everyone, look at me. What do you see? And I've just got tears. I'm just sitting in the middle of them all. This is what purpose looks like. You can't pay for this. You can't get this from like a drug. You get this by knowing your purpose, living it, expressing it, and giving it back to others. And then learn how to get paid for it. That's when you have a purpose-led business. Now, yeah, that's kind of it. That's the answer to your question. You're muted, my brother.
I love the abrupt stop there. But wow. Yeah, and I really resonate with that because I know you host in-person events and I do as well. And there's something about end of the event when everyone knows that it's about to come to a close and you're about to say goodbye to everyone. And you have this moment, if the event went well, it went as good as planned, if not better, where there's just this like emotion that comes and it's really from the heart. And you're like, we created this together. And this will not happen again, not at least in this way with these people. They'll go and live their life and I'll go and live mine. But this is really living, not just working to live or living to work. It's like, no, it's like the presence, the connection, the collaboration, the desire to want to create change in the world that it's out there. With that being said, there's also a lot of desire to want to create havoc. Just this past weekend, I had someone create an AI impersonation of me as an AI,
Wow.
video and voice, and reach out to someone on a fake WhatsApp number, multiple WhatsApp numbers, and ending up scamming them
Wow.
out of
Wow.
thousands of dollars. And they sent them money to cryptocurrency. And then they reached out to me after. I said, wait, you've reached out after. You want to reach out before?
Yeah.
So there is like also a challenge that comes with putting ourselves out there that a lot of people face is this, this fear of being in the spotlight. And I'm just wondering, because your brand's a lot bigger than mine, like how do you navigate building a personal brand that's, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of followers, while still protecting your privacy and your peace of mind?
There's a couple of angles on that. Like the you'll always instantaneously have the same level of hate and love. So you'll always receive it. So the more love you get from others, the more hate you're going to get instantaneously. So that's just part of
Mm.
universal laws, right? There's life is always balanced. We're always instantaneously in balance. You just may not perceive it. So the greater the hate you get, the greater the love you get. And like a great example of that is Donald Trump right now. Like, and I'm not saying I'm on either side of that, but there's like people that absolutely love him. There's people that absolutely hate him. So you're gonna have that
Yep.
polarity regardless of what you do. So if you're signing up for impacting people, you're signing up for people hating you. There's people that hate me. Like this is a micro version. I've got some funnier ones. I've got some big ones I can share with you. There's a micro one that happened the other day. I put up a post about sex because I'm looking into tantra, energetic healing, tantric healing, and it's something that's very curious for
Mm.
me. And I did a post. I said along the lines of, I just found out that the average couple has sex 0 to 2 times per week, and I was mind blown by that. I'm like, what the fuck? So I said, I'm just
I
curious.
feel it. I feel it. I think there's way less sex happening in the world than people
Yeah,
realize.
yeah, and I actually had on ChatGPT to give me the answer to that. But anyways, I then said, look, I asked the question, in your dream relationship, how many times do you have sex or be intimate? Because intimate could be connecting, deep conversations, cuddling, eye gazing, stuff like that. And I said, for me, it's 5 times per week of conscious, dedicated time to be intimate, which doesn't mean sex, or both. And I had this person like comment down below, and she said, 5 plus times a week. What a massive red flag. And I just said, why? I just commented, why? And then she had this big thing, which I can't remember what she said, but it was a big ass paragraph. And then, but she then like
Mm.
directed it towards my wife. And my wife jumped on the post and said, hey, look, everything you said is not true. You've just come up with a projection of her stuff onto my wife. And then she then deleted her comment, sent me some message and blocked me. I'm like, fair enough. So okay. But it's like that's a small version. A funny one.
Yeah.
Everyone can go do this. So so her name is Clementine Ford, and I'm not sure if you heard of her name. So she has a
No.
last time I saw her, she had a decent sized following. She had a big following than me at the time. So I posted a video of a mentor of mine who actually passed away last year. His name's Kerwin Ray, and it changed my life. Kerwin Ray, I loved Kerwin up in the great beyond. And he changed my life. And he has this video I've reposted a couple of times. It's essentially the video is around holding space for the feminine, the masculine energy, holding space for the feminine to be chaotic. Because the feminine energy, which
Mm.
is not male or female, it's both. Feminine energy is more flowy and chaotic, where the masculine holds space and structure. And that was the
Yeah.
video. And she reposted, I posted his video. And then Clementine reposted the video that I'd post and attacked Kerwin. So I jumped in and said, hey, look, like, blah, blah, blah. I was sticking up for Kerwin. Then she started attacking me. Then she gave it to me and started like ripping me to shreds. And I bit back. She triggered me. And then I bit back and I started sending her messages. I said, watch this video, watch this video. Here, here's John DiMartino, here's Joe Dispenza, read, 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 read. And she's saying like I'm some unqualified NLP life coach bullshit. I'm a scam. I'm a
What do
charlatan,
you
all these
know,
things.
Lewis? What do you know?
Yeah, what do you know, right? So, but I bit back. She triggered me, and I bit back. Now, if you go to anyone that's listening, go have a look at it. So, go to her profile. She literally has, on Instagram, you can have like highlight reels at the top pinned. She has people pinned that she's like her victims. So she has me and all these people. Like it's like a hit list of people that she's slammed. I'm
I've
still
never
there. I've
seen
blocked
that
her since.
before.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
So I find it funny because yes, I got triggered in the moment. So she
It's
definitely revealed a point with
hilarious.
me.
That's like the
What the,
epitome of like the online troll that
yep.
usually would like stay in the shadows and have one of
Yep.
those like anonymous usernames. And she's
Yeah.
like, look at me, like I'm
Yeah.
trolling Lewis.
Yeah. And she literally, it's like, in hindsight, I'm like, she's built a brand because at the time back then, I think she had about 220,000 followers. I think I had about 100. So I copped hundreds of messages from her like hardcore fans slamming
Yeah.
me. And I'm like, what the fuck? And then it was good because my clients stood up for me. It's like, he's changed my life. He's changed my life. Like, you don't know what you're talking about. You've never tried his work and all this stuff. But yeah, that's a bigger example. That was one that triggered me a lot. I get it still to this day. Like I
Yeah.
had one. I don't see them as often, but I remember the most recent one was probably about 6 months ago. This guy, he pretty much
Yeah.
made like what's it called, collaboration or correlation of heaps of videos of mine and just like had them back to back, and it had him like responding to them saying this is bullshit, this guy's a scam, this guy's this guy's this. So I still get those, but if it triggers you,
Yeah.
something for you to work on. But mate, it's part of the game. Short answer,
It
part of
is
the game.
part of the game. So, I mean, I've experienced that public shaming and canceling, and it can be like a little bit uncomfortable in the moment. And then you realize it's like the biggest liberation and blessing if you are to become a creator or a public figure, because then once you've been through it, it never hits the same in the future, most likely. And I've also experienced, like maybe you have as well, like record months and like amazing clients come in after something like that happens. Um, but with that being said, our time is running out on our episode today, and we've only got a few more minutes. So I'm wondering if you want to go there with me and do a little speed round and try to keep your answers as short and sweet as possible. You
Let's do it,
down?
bro. Go for it.
All right. So the first one is going to be, was there a moment in your journey where you thought, I don't want to do this anymore? And what happened?
It would be that phone call. That moment definitely came up. Heaps of mini moments around that, but that was like, I can't do this, and I literally gave the business away. I said, I can't do this. I'm fucked. I've created a trap. I need to get out of here. So that's the first one.
Okay. Well, and if you were to see your younger self today, what would surprise him most about you?
What age? Give me like an age. Younger self. I kind of broad. How old?
Let's say your 13-year-old self.
Um, life's gonna happen the perfect way it's gonna happen for you. Um, learn. Can't give them the advice. Give them the backpack. Go read my book. Go read my book, little one. I wrote that book for him. So,
Beautiful.
you're a gift. You're a blessing. There's nothing wrong with you. You have a gift that the
Mm,
world wants from you, and go give it to them.
So definitely your inspiration. And what are you still afraid of, if you're honest?
I'm afraid. I'm afraid of finding those deeper parts of me that I haven't become aware of yet, and then facing them head on. So it's when they do come up, like the ego naturally, like you mentioned that conversation when we're playing cards and we're finding each other's triggers. It's like
Mm.
when it comes up, we're pretty good at finding them, but not all the time. Like I'm still a human. I still have the ego come in and want to hold on to the wound and hold on to the limitation. So I'd say when the deep-seated ones that I don't know consciously, but subconsciously they're there somewhere, when they come up, sometimes I still don't want to face them. So yeah, there's got to be more in there.
Well, you talk about when your ego comes up. Do you ever still struggle with imposter syndrome, even though you've got a big brand? And how do you coach yourself through it?
The short for me, imposter syndrome. One's bad. The good one, the bad one is not knowing your values and trying to be someone else. So you're trying to be number two of someone else. So that's the bad version. So I don't have that anymore. The good one is when you're growing into the next version of you. So that's where I started writing the book. I felt like an imposter. When I started running events, I feel like an imposter. When I do my next big leap with whatever I'm doing, I'll feel like that again. You're growing into your next self. So you're becoming someone you've never been before. So yes, if you don't feel like an imposter every 12 to 18 months, you're not growing. So, yes, I still have it.
Mm, love that. Well, do you have a daily practice that you've done for years that you think people still underestimate?
Self growth, I do that daily. So I'm always listening to something when I drive. I barely listen to music. I do when I want to relax and connect with my body, but mainly it's learning. I meditate every day. Matt, I know what's meaningful to me, and I've created my life where I get to do it. So I have my master plan, which is purpose, mission, all the way down to daily outcomes. So because I know what's meaningful to me, I've created a life where I know what they are. I consciously prioritize them. I consciously say no to things that aren't them. So I've created the structure that allows me to live out a beautiful life. So just live into that structure would help out.
Why did you say yes to this podcast, by the way?
You. So the short without just stroking your ego, which you can enjoy that if you want, but the answer is you. So for me, as we were talking back and forth before we jumped on, like in the past weeks, for me it's deep conversations. So the host, there's a couple of criteria I look for because I get invited onto a fair few. It's the audience because it does expose me to more people that I can help and impact. Um, Second is the caliber of the content. So it's like, because I've been on podcasts where the audience is not big, but they make epic content for me to post, which is great. So I get some content out of it. Third is the caliber of the host. And mate, that is the one that, well, as soon as I met you, I'm like, yeah, he's, because I'm sure you've met some catfish where they seem very enlightened online, and then you meet them and you're like, who the fuck is this? So you're like, you know how to post the quotes, but you are not an embodiment of the work that you talk about. So you are not that, brother. So as soon as I met you, man, like when we had that quick, whatever, 10-15 minute chat we had a while ago, I was like, this guy is a legit person of the work that he does. And that's the part I value. Like, this conversation's been awesome. You've been able to pitch and catch and contribute to it, ask probing questions. Like, I enjoy deep conversations, as you can probably tell.
Beautiful. I appreciate that a lot. All right,
My
next
pleasure,
one.
brother.
In your view, what separates high performers who burn out from those who evolve?
Burnout for me is you're not prioritizing. There's two types of burnout. There's you're not prioritizing your values. Second is health, like you're not eating well, sleeping well, like you're not looking after the vessel. So people that
Mm,
it's like kind of like burnout is you go so hard and you overcompensate or you overbalance things to not prioritize the other values, and eventually you hit like a breaking point where you feel shit, feel down, burnout. So if you can figure out that sweet spot, like I never burn out because I constantly know when it's time for me to rebalance values. Again, I do a lot more coaching than anything else, but there is a point where
mm.
I've had enough coaching. There's only so much coaching I can do. And then I'll move on to the next one, do some learning, do some relationships, do some connecting, do some health, do some gym. So again, when you can find that healthy balance, those to say work-life balance is bullshit. I don't. It depends how you define work-life balance. For me, work-life balance is not everything is equal because that's not true. It's balancing your values in the hierarchy of how important they are to you. You get that right, you'll never burn out. So I train, I work, and the inspired work. Of course, yes, business sometimes you go a little bit over, but it is what it is. If that's where you got to be honest with your goals. But if you can find a life, build the life, and balance all of your values to the degree that inspires you, you will never burn out.
Wow, powerful. And I know you've got a balanced technique. So hit up Lewis if you want to learn it. All right, we're down to our final three. What's
Go for it.
one question you ask your clients that cracks them open almost every time?
Um, it would be part of the balancing process. That's my trauma process. So it's too
Hmm.
detailed to give like it's contextual to ask that question. But a common question I ask my clients and friends and family,
Okay.
do you need more support or challenge from me right now? Because maximum growth is on the borderline of support and challenge. Too much
Oh,
challenge, you break. Too much support, you get weak. So do it to your partners. I do it to my wife. I do it to my friends. Like when something pops up, do you need more support from me right now or more challenge from me? So that's a good coaching
I
question.
love that. All right, so let's say your Instagram and YouTube got taken away and you were starting from scratch. No followers, no clients. What would you do in the first 90 days?
Start posting content, start building it back up. Talk to every single fucking human I could possibly talk to within the limitations of the social media platforms. Offer them depending on what service I'm selling, if it's a high ticket one, which I probably would do if you've got an audience. And I'd be offering free strategy calls or free sessions to add value to them, add value, and then sell them into whatever I'm selling.
All right, last one. That was beautiful. If this was your last podcast ever, what truth would you want to leave behind for the next generation of conscious leaders?
Trust your intuition, trust your heart. It's going to lead you towards your destiny. Um, you're a fucking gift. You have a gift. Give it to the world.
Wow. Lewis, brother, what a ride this conversation's been. Listen, I really appreciate your truth, your story, and just the level of depth that you bring not only to this conversation, but to every piece of content that you put out there. So before we wrap, is there a workshop or a master class that you've got coming up that you'd like to invite any of the brave souls who made it through this episode
I
to?
like they said, brave souls, because definitely caution warning, you're gonna face your shit if you come work with me in a loving, healthy way. But mate, I think the book's a great starting point for a lot of people. So it's a good like it's low cost. I literally made it the cost of the book. I rounded it up to the next dollar. So I make like 30 cents a sale. So I do not get rich off my books. So it's start with the book. I have a school community. Online. It's a free 7 day trial. It's only $49 a month if you want to stick around. If you are on the Gold Coast and you're willing to come to the Gold Coast, I do run in person events, but obviously that's a bit more restrictive because of location. So that's the book and the online community, or my podcast helps the masses. And then if you can come to the Gold Coast, come hang out in person. Just check out my socials. You'll be able to find it somewhere.
Beautiful. I love it. I'm going to definitely listen to your audiobook and read the book as soon as possible.
Appreciate it,
And
bro.
for those of you still listening, like if this episode lit a fire inside of you, if it made you to question something, crack something open, or even just remember who the hell you are underneath the noise, then you're exactly who I created this Evolve Your Brand podcast for. So the only cost is to share it with a friend who might find some value from this episode. And with that being said, if you're a conscious male entrepreneur building something meaningful and you're not just chasing numbers, but you're doing the inner work to lead with integrity, impact, and truth, then I want to invite you to join our brotherhood. Business Growth Brotherhood is not just a mastermind, it's a business container. It's a brotherhood for men who are evolving as leaders, as brand builders. And if you're tired of doing this alone, and you're ready to surround yourself with a room full of men who see you, who challenge you, and walk beside you on the path of growth, go to bgbrotherhood.com or DM me on Instagram, BGB, to apply. Lewis, thank you again for showing up fully today. And to everyone listening, stay bold, stay aligned, and keep evolving. We'll see you on the next one.